Chapter 2. The woman did seem familiar. Her sleek blonde hair clung to her head like a wet seal's fur, and her eyes were a startling aquamarine. She was wearing a smart rose-coloured suit, but she moved like an aerobics teacher. Memory burst on Caitlin. The vision screening! Joyce nodded. Exactly, she said energetically. Now, how much do you remember about that? Bewildered, Caitlin looked at Miss McClasson. The principal, a small woman, quite plump and very pretty, was sitting with her hands folded on the desk. She seemed serene, but her eyes were sparkling. All right, so I'm not in trouble, Kate thought. But what's going on? She stood uncertainly in the centre of the room. Don't be frightened, Caitlin, the principal said. She waved a small hand with a number of rings on it. Sit down. Kate sat. I don't bite, Joyce added, sitting down herself, although she kept her aquamarine eyes on Kate's face the entire time. Now, what do you remember? It was just the test, like you get at the optometrist's, Caitlin said slowly. I thought it was some new program. Everyone brought their new programs to Ohio. Ohio was so representative of the nation that its people were perfect guinea pigs. Joyce was smiling a little. It was a new program, but we weren't screening for vision exactly. Do you remember the test where you had to write down the letters you saw? Oh, yes. It wasn't easy to remember because everything that happened during the testing was vague. It had been last fall, early October, Kate thought. Joyce had come into study hall and talked to her class. That was clear enough. Kate remembered her asking them to cooperate. Then Joyce had guided them through some relaxation exercises, after which Caitlin had been so relaxed that everything was foggy. You gave everybody a pencil and a piece of paper, she said hesitantly to Joyce, and then you projected letters on the movie screen, and they kept getting smaller and smaller. I could hardly write, she added. I was limp. Just a little hypnosis to get past your inhibitions, Joyce said, leaning forward. What else? I kept writing letters. Yes, you did, Joyce said. A slight grin flashed in her tanned face. You did indeed. After a moment, Caitlin said, So, I've got good eyesight? I wouldn't know. Still grinning, Joyce straightened up. You want to know how that test really worked, Caitlin? We kept projecting the letters smaller and smaller, until finally they weren't there at all. Weren't there? Not for the last 20 frames. There were just dots, absolutely featureless. You could have vision like a hawk and still not make anything out of them. A cold finger seemed to run up Caitlin's backbone. I saw letters, she insisted. I know you did, but not with your eyes. There was perfect silence in the room. Caitlin's heart was beating hard. We had someone in the room next door, Joyce said. A graduate student with very good concentration, and he was looking at charts with letters on them. That was why you saw letters, Kate. You saw through his eyes. You expected to see letters on the chart, so your mind was open, and you received what he saw. Caitlin said faintly, It doesn't work that way. Oh, please, God. All she needed was another power, another curse. It does. It's all the same, Joyce said. It's called remote viewing. The awareness of an event beyond the range of your ordinary senses. Your drawings are remote viewings of events, sometimes events that haven't happened yet. What do you know about my drawings? A rush of emotion brought Kate to her feet. It wasn't fair. This stranger coming in and playing with her, testing her, tricking her, and now talking about her private drawings. Her very private drawings that people in Thoroughfare had the decency to only refer to obliquely. I'll tell you what I know, Joyce said. Her voice was soft, rhythmic, and she was gazing at Caitlin intently with those aquamarine eyes. I know that you first discovered your gift when you were 9 years old. A little boy from your neighbourhood had disappeared. Danny Lidenmeyer, the principal put in briskly. Danny Lidenmeyer had disappeared, Joyce said without looking away from Kate, and the police were going door to door looking for him. You were drawing with crayons while they talked to your father. You heard everything about the drawing. The missing boy. And when you were done drawing, it was a picture you didn't understand. A picture of trees and a bridge and something square. Caitlin nodded, feeling oddly defeated. The memory sucked at her, making her dizzy. That first picture, so dark and strange, and her own fear. She'd known it was a very bad thing that her fingers had drawn, but she hadn't known why. And the next day, on TV, you saw the place where they found the little boy's body, Joyce said. Underneath a bridge by some trees, in a packing crate. Something square, Caitlin said. It matched it matched the picture you'd drawn exactly, even though there was no way you could have known about that place. The bridge was 30 miles away, in a town you'd never been to. When your father saw the news on TV, he recognized your picture too, and he got excited, started showing the drawing around, telling the story. But people reacted badly. They already thought you were a little different because of your eyes, but this was a whole lot different. They didn't like it, and when it happened again and again, when your drawings kept coming true, they got very frightened. And Caitlin developed something of an attitude problem, the principal interjected delicately. She's naturally rebellious and a bit high-strung, like a colt. But she's got prickly too, and cold, self-defensive. She made tisking noises. Caitlin glared, but it was a feeble glare. Joyce's quiet, sympathetic voice had disarmed her. She sat down again. So you know all about me, she said to Joyce. So I've got an attitude problem. So what? You do not have an attitude problem, Joyce interrupted. She looked almost shocked. She leaned forward, speaking very earnestly. You have a gift, a very great gift. Caitlin, don't you understand? Don't you realize how unusual you are? How wonderful! In Caitlin's experience, unusual did not equate to wonderful. In the entire world, there are only a handful of people who can do what you can do, Joyce said. In the entire United States, we only found 5. 5 what? 5 high school seniors. 5 kids like you. All with different talents, of course. None of you can do the same thing. But that's great. That's just what we were looking for. We'll be able to do a variety of experiments. You want to experiment on me? Caitlin looked at the principal in alarm. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me explain. I'm from San Carlos, California. Well, that explained the town. And I work for Zait's Institute. It's a very small laboratory, not at all like SRI or Duke University. It was established last year by a research grant from the Zait's Foundation. Mr. Zait's is... Oh, how can I explain him? He's an incredible man. He's the chairman of a big corporation in Silicon Valley. But his real interest is in psychic phenomena, psychic research. Joyce paused and pushed sleek blonde hair off her forehead. Caitlin could feel her working up to something big. He's put up the funds for a very special project, a very intense project. It was his idea to do screening at high schools all over the country, looking for seniors with high psychic potential, to find the 5 or 6 that were absolutely the top, the cream of the crop, and to bring them to California for a year of testing. A year? That's the beauty of it, don't you see? Instead of doing a few sporadic tests, we'd do testing daily on a regular schedule. We'd be able to chart changes in your powers with your biorhythms, with your diet. Joyce broke off abruptly. Looking at Kate directly, she reached out and took Kate's hands. Caitlin, let down the walls and just listen to me for a minute. Can you do that? Kate could feel her hands trembling in the cool grasp of the blonde woman's fingers. She swallowed, unable to look away from those aquamarine eyes. Caitlin, I'm not here to hurt you. I admire you tremendously. You have a wonderful gift. I want to study it. I spent my life preparing to study it. I went to college at Duke, you know, where Ryan did his telepathy experiments. I got my master's degree in parapsychology. I've worked at the Dream Laboratory in Maimonides and the Mind Science Foundation in San Antonio and the Engineering Anomalies Research Laboratory at Princeton. And all I've ever wanted is a subject like you. Together we can prove that what you do is real. We can get hard, replicable, scientific proof. We can show the world that ESP exists.